Sri Deep Narayan Bhagwan ki jai. Devadidev Deveshwar Mahadeva ki jai. Aradhya Bhagwan Sri Deep Narayan Mahaprabhu ji ki jai. Today, is the day when we remember Gandhi. Today is the day, 30th January, when he was assassinated. Everybody knows that politics is quite dangerous, and in politics also this is last kind of ultimate sacrifice one can do. And it's always troubling that even such personalities like Gandhi, who managed to survive so many hardships, so many jails, so many demonstrations, to be assassinated in his own home in the middle of the Delhi. Gandhi nowadays is quite, especially in India, it's people are quite confused about him and his work. He is called as a father of the nation. But of course, many people object to that, because there cannot be actually only one father. There cannot be one nation is made from so many people. So many people did so much to ensure that India become independent country, to remove the colonialism from the India. But what is most important is Gandhi is one person who always insisted on peace. There are so many other people who insisted on normal revolutions, assassinations, killings, putting bombs and so on, but only Gandhi was the only person in the history of politics that who was actually talking about peaceful resolution of any conflict. Of course, this peaceful resolution came from the many options what one can do. But it's important to, especially in today's world, when we have so much weapons, and all the guns and everything can be bought, some countries very freely, in other countries not so freely, but it's available everywhere. The movies, the games, series, all of them glorify violence. All of them are showing the destructive way of the humanity. And that is what Gandhiji called brute. From brute man to the divine man. So Gandhi was never opposing anybody. He didn't oppose person as it is. He spoke with every single person he met. He was only opposing their decisions, their way of behaving, and he tried to change their way of behaving. To do that, he of course had, we all know the saying, be the change you want to see. So he started with changing himself. Gandhiji was not Gandhiji from when he was born. He was made in his life journey. His life journey made him that. He started as a normal person who was supposed to work in a British government in one area of what's today Gujarat. And then he went to London to be a barrister, the lawyer, and ultimately his journey pushed him to South Africa, and in South Africa he saw how people were mistreated, especially he was taking care of Indians, and of course when he felt on his own skin, when he was thrown out of the train for which he had a valid ticket, when he was thrown out of the carriage for no other reason but the color of the skin, then he realized that there is something, so much injustice, and he started to fight against it. India was lucky that Gandhiji came back to India, that he didn't stay in South Africa all his life, as many NRIs are doing nowadays. But he was living the life in India, and he was searching around, traveling around the whole India and seeing how the people are living, and the poverty of that time, which was induced by colonialism and feudalism, and of course the crony capitalism. These three factors made India so poor, and from once country which was called Vishwaguru, it was just one slave country. So from that time he joined many other, I would say, revolutionaries and many other people who were fighting for India's freedom. And what I liked about Gandhi is that he did not only fight for the equality of rights, for the freedom. Because what's the freedom if you are hungry? What means freedom for the hungry person? What means freedom for the person who has nothing to wear? In one village, he saw the ladies having only down part covered, and he asked his wife to ask why they are not dressed fully. And his wife Kasturbaji asked them and told him that they don't have enough clothes to cover the upper part of the body. They can choose to cover upper part or the down part. That was the poverty of that time. Then Gandhi started with the movement of Khadi, the local cotton market, the local fabrications. India was very famous in their textile industry. But unfortunately, everybody likes something else. So from the West, from the Britain imported textile is always more interesting, more fashionable, more something than the local one. And when you use the business intelligence behind, you reduce the price, and when nobody can be, when you remove all the other textile from the market except your ones, then you raise the prices and people cannot buy. The problem of capitalism is that only the highest part of society has enough money to buy whatever they want. In theory, this money should trickle down, go down as a rain and come to the poorer society, but mostly this never happens. So Gandhi did not wait for that to happen. He started various communal programs for cleanness, to cleaning the toilets, program for education of women and children, education for adults, education for anybody who is ready to study. Then he started the small like village factories, anything what can make people develop. So the term Swadeshi started from that area, which means basically buy local. What means buy local? It means that things which are produced in a surroundings, that you should basically use that as much as possible. He was not against something you can buy, you cannot make here, because there is no point. Nobody can make aeroplanes. Not everybody can make aeroplanes. Not everybody can make trains. There, of course, somewhere something is better made and so on. But the food, for example, now we have food imported from Brazil, from America, from Europe. All over the place we have food imported. And exported, of course. And in today's age of global warming, today's age of climate change, and when we know that minimum 30 up to 70% of the global warming is caused by transport, then this buying local has more sense. Because if you buy the vegetable which is grown nearby you, you save on the diesel. The whole planet saves on the diesel. Of course, there are many variables in that, many things which people like or don't like, especially for the point of earning. But Gandhiji insisted in developing this market here, in developing the villages, and then from the villages we have one village, from one village we'll have other villages will be connected, and so on. It's like pure kind of democracy. Ultimately, it did not work because you need a lot of people who are following the same pattern, which is quite difficult. And of course, one very difficult point in Indian history came when British managed to split India. Of course, they didn't do it alone. They convinced the Nehru and other politicians. So the India was split in 3 parts, and we can see that these 3 parts are still divided today. And this breaking of India and the violence which was caused by a breaking of this India was ultimately also demise of Gandhi. And on this date, he was assassinated. But still, in 1908, he wrote the perfect democracy, Hind Swaraj, the perfect India, how the India should be on self-sustainable, ecologically correct, and many other things. And this, what he wrote in 1908, it's also recognized even by United Nations only 80 years later. Gandhi himself was not a beginner. He was one of the biggest implementer, the one who implemented the positive changes into the society on the peaceful way. Of course, he used even Tolstoy's. He was friend with Tagore. There are many Americans friends he had, and many he had vast base. Because starting from Veda and Upanishads, in India doesn't matter, the Atma is same in an elephant and Atma is the same in an ant. So there is no difference between people. So this unity of life on the whole earth was the background of Gandhiji's political, social and economical thought. And with that, he managed to make such a big change in this country for positive, not only in India, but I would say for the whole world. Because he showed the way how to fight even the word fight is not good, how to stop the violence. Either it's physical violence, mental violence, or any other kind of violence. How to stop it, but without using the same violence. Because what is the point he said, if you just go and remove the British from the equation, and suddenly the people who were there, who killed the British with the power of force, then they are just changing the uniforms. We had tigers in one uniform, now we have tigers in another uniform. The real change did not happen. That is the basic why he didn't like the violence for the changing of the governments, and he didn't approve revolutionary movements. And I can say today we need positive approach. We need pacific way of thinking, how we can help each other and without resorting to violence, or if it's necessary, only in the last moment. Not as a first thing, but to try to solve any other problem as much possible on a peaceful way, with a changing of thinking, with accepting that if you want to change the world, first change yourself. Sridip Narayan Bhagwan ki jai, Devadidev Deveshwar Mahadeva ki jai, Hindu Dharam Samrat Smaravranji Bhagwan ki jai, Vishwaguru Mahamandaleshwar Swami Gyaneshwar Puri ki jai, Sab Sant ki jai.